Hello and welcome to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner, and with me today is a very special guest. We have Stephanie Whitney. She's a senior coordinator in learning support, and we're going to learn a bit more about what you do in that department. So welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you.
Great. I'm glad to have you here today, and I'm glad we have this particular department on because we don't hear much from you all, and you have a lot going on in your department. So tell me a little bit about learning support.
Sure, we do have a lot going on in our department. I'm the senior coordinator that is responsible for supervising district-wide programs for students with intellectual disabilities, multiple disabilities, and autism. I'm also responsible for some other things such as nursing services for students who individually require a nurse. For school, I'm responsible for adaptive PE and the Virginia Alternate Assessment Program, the VAP.
We learn a lot about the adaptive PE activities because that's been, a great thing and eye-opening to know what you do with the middle and elementary school students. But tell me, how many students receive services here in Norfolk schools?
Actually, we have over 4,000 students who receive special education services in Norfolk.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
4,000.
Yes.
What kinds of services do we offer those students?
Well, Norfolk Public Schools offers a continuum of services for students, and we work very hard to be sure that students are receiving services in their least restrictive environment. And what that means is students are only removed from the general education classroom to the extent that's necessary to meet their disability-based needs. So a bulk of our students receive services in the general education classroom through the inclusion of the collaboration model. And that's when a special education teacher will push in and collaborate with the general education teacher to provide the specially designed instruction for the students. Some students require additional services, and for those kiddos, they may require some pull-out services in the special education setting. And then there's students that require more intensive services, and they may be served through the district-wide programs.
How do they determine who needs what type of services?
Well, it's all based on students' disability-based needs, and data drives all of the decisions for educational placement and programming for students with special needs.
Right, this is a pretty long question I'm going to ask you, but
Okay.
Tell me about the model classroom your team set up to help others understand more about teaching students with special needs.
Sure, the model classroom was really born out of the development of an observation tool that was developed to look at best practices in our district-wide programs. And the teacher specialists had a vision that they would like to have a place for teachers to be able to come and actually see those strategies in motion, and to have a place where they could come and they could do make and take types of activities so that they can take things and go directly back to their classrooms to be able to implement those things with students. So actually, when teachers come into the model classroom, they can pick up the observation tool that we use to provide that support, and they can go from station to station in the room and see all of the strategies.
Yeah, where is this located?
We were very blessed to have a space donated to us this year at Little Creek Elementary School. Mrs. Coughlin, the principal there, found a classroom that we were able to use and set up.
What are some type of the things in that classroom?
We have all kinds of things in that classroom, but like I said, it's best practices for students with disabilities, and really it's best practice in teaching are good for all kiddos, but they're really required for the students that are in our district-wide programs. And so we have examples of reinforcement systems, scheduling, visuals that we would use with children, and instructional strategies.
What kinds of strategies, since you brought that up, help students with special needs?
Well, students in our program classes really thrive on routine and structure, and the visual strategies are very important for them. Many times language is not developed to the point that it needs to be, so that when you're talking to children, they're not able to really process what you're saying to them, but we can pair language with visuals, and that helps them to understand what we're asking them to do. It helps them to monitor their behavior and be able to regulate behavior in the classroom. So different things that we do with kids are just, they work well.
Well, what's the ultimate goal for having that type of classroom?
So the goal for the classroom really is we're targeting the teachers, because research shows us that the best intervention that we can give to our children is good teachers. And so we really are seeking to build the capacity of our teachers and to give them a resource where they can make interventions for their students, or learn more about the best practices and how to tweak those to meet the individual needs of their kids in the classroom. It also provides us an opportunity. We have professional learning communities that are meeting in the classroom so that we can help teachers make connections with other teachers that are teaching children the same population, the same age, same grades.
So this is not just for teachers who are working in learning support. This is for all teachers here in Norfolk that support.
It could be. This year, because we're just starting off with the model classroom, we're really focusing on our teachers in our district-wide programs. But it would be appropriate for other teachers to come in and see these best practices. So we're hoping that this will evolve into something that we can use to support teachers, across the district.
What's the ultimate goal for our teachers that you support in this district?
Well, it's really, we're seeking to build that capacity so that we can give that intervention to our students, that best intervention, which is a teacher that understands best practice and is able to build relationship with our students and really help our students reach their full potential. We want them to reach their full potential. We want them to find their passion, and then we want them to be able to be productive members of our society.
Great. This sounds like great instruction, great professional development. So thank you for coming on the show and sharing information about learning support.
Thank you.
And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Sutmiller, Senior Coordinator of Athletics. And today in the studio we have the head golf coach from Granby High School, Mr. Tim Maynard. Welcome.
Thank you.
And he has brought his golfer, his #1 golfer, state runner-up, Rebecca DiNunzio. Welcome, Rebecca, and welcome back from last year.
Thank you.
Rebecca, we're going to start with you. Let's talk about how this season went and how you felt about the season and the accomplishments that you just had.
Yes, this season went really well. I was really excited starting my senior year at Granby High School. And I was especially excited because we had a big team this year of 8 players, mostly due to Coach Maynard's recruitment of players this year. And it was really nice to have a team that really supported each other and me, especially as I went on to regionals and states.
Okay, so you were the #1 regional player out of everybody, boys
Yes.
and girls. Excellent, good job.
Thank you.
And then your accomplishment in the recent state tournament. Where did you finish?
Yes, so recently at states I finished in 2nd.
Okay. All right, Coach. This is your 2nd year
Yes.
as the head coach for Granby. Tell us about how she progressed from last year, because she was a state qualifier, to this year.
Well, she finished 3rd in the state last year and then runner-up this year. My biggest thing that I've been telling, I can tell maturity in her game. Like last year, it seemed like, I don't want to say I could influence, but I could kind of talk her into doing more risky things last year, whereas this year she was more defined in what her game was. I could really tell it in the practice rounds, because I would want her to hit a particular shot, but she would lay up and then I'd make her hit the other ball too. Just I said, look, I came out here, you got to hit this too, because she can do anything on the golf course. Mm-hmm. So just a more maturity and more defined about where her game is and where percentagely she scores higher, and risk versus reward kind of type maturity stuff.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the state tournament. I mean, day 1, maybe not the best round, but I mean, you were down. So you go into day 2 and you make this great comeback. So talk a little bit about day
Yes.
1 versus day 2 and the comeback.
Yes, day 1 I was really focused on just playing my game and being consistent, making pars, because it was definitely a hard course. I didn't want to come out too aggressive. And I just wanted to put myself in contention after day 1. Unfortunately, I was a little bit further behind than I wanted. But I think that kind of gave me a little bit more of a fire coming into the 2nd day, and I was able to really go for some certain pin positions that I thought may be difficult, and I was able to make more birdies in the beginning, and that was a lot of fun.
So in that first round, what were you behind going in?
I was behind 3 strokes.
3 strokes.
Yes.
Okay, Coach. I mean, how did you interject into that at that point?
Attack the course.
Okay.
Just told her she had to attack the course and stop laying back. She's definitely a par person. Like I said, the risk versus reward. She wasn't risky enough on day 1 on a couple holes, in my opinion. And needed to be more aggressive and trust her game. She wasn't striking the ball quite as well though, so I know she got a little tight because, you know, you and I, when we golf, we have to worry about where the ball's going almost every time we hit it. But for her, she almost never has to worry about it. And she had a couple balls that got away from her, and I know that kind of put her back a little bit, like she needed to be a little more controlled. But I kind of wanted her to get a little more like, okay, if I hit that one bad, then I'm certainly hitting the next one right. I wanted her to have more of that mindset that there's no way I'm hitting 2 bad ones in a row. And so, yeah, we put ourselves in a little hole. I mean, the second day, both golfers, though, played phenomenal. Not only did they catch the pack, they caught them on like hole number 6 or 7. They had already caught the leaders. They were playing so well. They had like 5 birdies in the first 6 holes between them. The Great Bridge girl had 3, she had 2. We evened it all up at 10. I mean, they were both on fire. It was impressive to watch.
All right, so you know, the end, you come in second, 1 stroke behind the golfer from Great Bridge, a close friend, right?
Yes, she is a close friend.
So how was that golfing with her in that round? You're friends, but you're battling.
Yes, it was actually really, really amazing because I feel like we definitely pushed each other. She started off with 2 birdies, and the whole time we were just kind of excited for each other, being seniors and being able to play with each other. And I feel like we brought the best golf out of each other. And so seeing her be able to get it done on the last hole, even though I wasn't the one winning, I was definitely really happy for her.
Okay, so talk a little bit.
Can I add on that though?
Sure.
What was funny though at the beginning of it was they were kind of teammates at the beginning of the round because they both had to catch the group in front of them. And so it didn't start out competing against each other at all. They were trying to compete against the 3 girls that were in the group behind us. And so when the Great Bridge girl went off with 2 birdies, it set us up too because it put a lot of pressure on those girls back there, and they started coming back to us as we were going forward. So it was kind of, they started out, and then it didn't happen until like the last 6 holes that they realized, hold up, we're ahead of everybody. Like we're playing against each other now.
All right, yeah, good. So, Coach, you know, and Rebecca, talk a little bit about, you know, how you started in golf, and then you know, how you got to the top part where you are in the game. You know, you're one of the best golfers in the state.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was about 6 years old, and my mom, she wanted just to expose me to a lot of different activities to see if there was one that I really liked specifically. And when I started golf, I was hooked from the very beginning, and I started getting really serious when I was about 12 years old, and I worked really hard since then.
So tell us, how do you feel your growth in the sport from your freshman year to now? Obviously we know what it's like now, but starting off as a freshman.
Yeah, starting off as a freshman, I definitely didn't know what was ahead of me throughout high school, because I definitely knew that I wanted to play well so that I could potentially get a spot on a college golf team. And I just exposed myself to lots of different tournaments, kept getting into higher and higher tournaments, seeing how well I could do, and each time I learned something more and more about my game and how the next time I can come out and do even better. Okay,
so Coach, you know, she talks about other tournaments. How beneficial is that for you when she starts the golf season in high school?
What, on her playing other tournaments? Oh, very. I mean, I got a free ride basically. I mean, didn't say it no less. I would like to talk about her hard work though. Okay. That's what all my stories about that you were joking about that I had. They will not take 10 minutes, but there are 4 kind of funny ones that are very short. She won the region tournament, so we're walking out of the parking lot, and she looks at her mom and me, and she goes, "I missed a couple putts today. Should I go back and practice on the putting green?" This is 10 minutes after she just won the region over everyone. One of the first practices last year, she put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Coach, you can go home. I'll never go home before you do." And I said, what time will you go home? She goes, dark. It was 5:30.
Okay,
and,
dedicated.
Yeah, and we had a practice that started at 11 this year. When I walked inside, the guy at Lambert's Point goes, what time do you think Becca got here? I said, probably 7:30. He goes, she got here about 8. We played practice at 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the best part of her
crazy.
game? What have you seen?
Her work ethic is unmatched. I mean, I've coached 20 years. I've coached AAU basketball. I've coached 5 or 6 different sports, all at a pretty high level.
Okay.
I've coached multiple kids that went to college for different sports. I don't think I've had anybody that works as hard as she does.
All right.
So hard work definitely pays off. She practices beyond what, like, even you would ask anyone to practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you think she's worked enough, she will work another 2 hours all on her own. She is self-motivated. When she said she loved it right from the beginning, she still loves it now because she couldn't possibly do it as much as she does. She's out there. I mean, she plays every day.
Okay. Sounds. I mean, he likes your dedication.
Yeah.
So, all right, Rebecca, let's talk about the future.
Okay.
You finished the high school season.
Yes.
What's next, and then what is next year going to look like for you?
Next year, I'm going to be playing golf for Virginia Tech. I was recruited by them last year when I verbally committed, and so I'm looking forward to next year to be able to play
Okay.
for them.
All right. All right. So, when you get to Virginia Tech, what do you want to study?
I'm planning on studying neuroscience, clinical neuroscience.
All right. Very good. Well, Rebecca, 2 years in a row,
Yes.
come down here. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Coach
you.
Maynard, thanks for doing a good job with her. Hope you continue success at Granby High School. So again, I want to thank you both for being down here.
Hopefully she has some
Thank you for
twins
having
coming.
me.
More NPS Now after this.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I have 2 very special guests with me here today. I have Jessie Zamora, Senior Director of Information Technology, and Troy Perkins, our Cybersecurity Engineer. Welcome to you both to NPS Now.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. And hey, you got something exciting coming out for our students and possibly staff called Zoom. I remember Zoom used to be a show, but evidently it's new technology that's out. So Jessie, tell us about Zoom.
Okay, so Zoom is an advanced, innovative, and interactive video conferencing solution. And what we're trying to do in Norfolk Public Schools is, in our IT department, is to try to remedy the communication needs of the district.
Wow. So how can Zoom be beneficial for our students?
Well, if you visualize where technology is taking us today, what you're going to find out is it's so important that we have to try to find a way to bridge the gap. Example would be for students, morning announcements out at the schools. Nowadays, we have online capabilities where students can actually use the internet that they're used to. One of the examples is most of the students probably have a cell phone, and they conference their friends, they pick up their phones and they say, hey, what's up, or their families. So why can't we use that type of technology into the classroom? Well, Zoom is beneficial to students because it is a kind of platform or a tool that they can use for not only morning announcements, but possibly distance learning, if you will. Unlike FaceTime or any type of Skype software, Zoom has the capability of reaching 1 to 100 people. In January, they're going to release a firmware update or a software update where you can do 1 to 300 people. So teachers are going to be able to teach their students using an online tool such as Zoom.
That's exciting. So which schools are using it and how's it going so far?
At this time, we have piloted at Larchmont Elementary and Ocean View Elementary. I went out there about 3 weeks ago to kind of test out, to kind of just look at what students, how are they using it and how successful it is. My mind was blown away.
Really?
Yes, the media specialist was directing while the students are actually the ones doing the work. They were behind an iPad and they're pressing record. They're actually able to see what the students are saying when they're presenting their morning announcements. Students are able to use an iPad or a laptop to kind of look at their cues and basically say what needs to be said.
I want to see this. So let's take a look real quick of how students at Larchmont are using this technology for their morning announcements real quick.
Great.
We're on the air, and that's first thing. The second week of school, we were on air, so that was great. We're on the air, the kids are seeing us, we're highlighting, you know, movement, getting our brains with the Jammin' Minute. We have watchdog dads that come almost daily. We highlight them and their families. So we're just getting out, and everybody's seeing what's going on in the school. So it's good.
I think it is very good for our new school because it connects to almost all of the classrooms, and it has it's just really good for our school, and I think it's easier for WLES News. It's fun for everyone to see the news and to be on the news, and I think it's fun to be on the Zoom app too.
Well, it's really fun because it's a live conferencing app, so it's being broadcasted to the whole school, so everyone's seeing what the camera's seeing at the same time. I think it's really cool, and it's fun. It's definitely fun.
Okay, that was awesome. I mean, I know you were blown away. I am too. They're going to take my job next. But that's great, the training that received. So this is great for students, but you know, how is this going to work for teachers and staff members, this Zoom concept?
Okay, we'll start for the teachers because everything that we do in IT is to support the teaching and student learning. So for teachers, it can help them in different ways. Let's start with distance learning. I remember back in the day when I was going to school, and I was always afraid to raise my hand if I have a difficult question. Sometimes students don't want to be embarrassed and try to, and ask a difficult question when the teacher actually said something earlier in the class. So Zoom gives the teachers the ability to record the session. Mm-hmm. So, and that also they can actually set up a polling question where if they say how many students agree with this particular discussion, and the students can say vote yes or no, or they can raise their hand if they have a question with the teacher. So all these is recorded. So what that does for teaching and student learning is students can go back into the class discussion or the class session to kind of recall a certain understanding.
So what do you hope that will happen in the long term with our district with this new software, Zoom?
I'm hoping a lot of things with Zoom, because that was just more for the teacher perspective. Zoom is a technology that can actually unify communication needs across the district. One is distance learning, 2, morning announcements, 3, parent-teacher conferences, professional development for teachers, staff, and administrators. And one of the things that we haven't discussed is effective decision-making for our emergency response team. Emergency operation team, I'm sorry. So what you don't see in Zoom is that we can actually do a video conference and actually have someone go out and assess the weather via mobile. So as if when we're all in a conference, someone can say, look, here's the snow, the school's not ready, or the school is ready. So it will improve our EO team in making effective decisions.
That's great. I'm glad you found this new software and brought it to not only our students, but for our teachers and administration, and how we can use that too. And I think we're going to shift gears now to talk about fishing. I was fished earlier this year, and I was like, what in the world? So I want to talk to you, Troy. What exactly is phishing with a PH?
Basically, phishing is fraudulent or malicious emails. They're designed to look like it came from a reputable source, but their intent is to steal email, or they're phishing steal information, or they're phishing for information.
So what exactly, or approximately, what do you think we have been attacked? How many emails or employees you think have been phished in our district this year? On the average week, we'll get about 182 phishing emails, and it's only going to increase. Wow. So that's why we're here to bring awareness to it. So what type of information, are the attackers searching for? What are they trying to get? Some of the information they're searching for financial information, such as a social security, such as a credit card number, maybe account information, personal information, such as a social security number, maybe address, phone numbers. They may be looking for also username and passwords. What are some things that maybe we should be careful about in our emails, or not to have in our emails? As far as when we're getting phishing emails, some things to look for is links. Look for links.
Sometimes you may get a link and that's a malicious link. What you can do, you can arrow over the link and it may tell you exactly where it's coming from. Also, domains. If you're looking for an email from a Norfolk Public School staff member, the domain should say nps.k12.va.us as opposed to such and such.gmail. Other things to look for is maybe grammatical errors and stylistic errors. A lot of the attackers are not U.S. citizens, so they may have have difficulties with the English language, so they'll portray that into the email as well. So you'll see grammatical errors as well. Other things to look for is the tone of the email. Most phishing emails have aggressive tones, so they'll tell you this is urgent and to do this now, and they're trying to get you to click this link now or respond with your user information now or your account information now before this happens.
Yeah, and they try to get email listings too, and mine, the one that I received, was very aggressive.
Yes.
Jesse saw it was almost like blackmail, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Very aggressive.
Another thing you may see is because phishing emails are sent out widely to a big group, they use greetings, very impersonal greetings. So they'll say user or customer or staff or patient, and then ask for personal information. So you know what to look for. You know not to give personal information to someone who can't even address you by your name as if they know who you are.
So if someone suspects they've received a phishing attack in their email, what should they do?
What we like to teach here is to block it or report it as phishing. If you look in your Outlook client, you'll see an option under the Home tab to click Junk and report as phishing. If you don't have that link, then definitely call Help Desk and we can get that set up for you. But just reporting it to make IT aware is some of the good things to do.
And these are tips that you share for us as employees, but even parents at home.
Yes.
With their own personal email. These are good tips for them to share and to go pay attention in their emails as well.
Right.
Yeah, well, we want to thank you both for coming on the show to talk about Zoom and phishing information. And thank you again for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS, Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you have any great story ideas or information you'd like to share, email us at nps_news@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.